Hi, welcome back to Katie Can't Read and Katie I Can Read. And today we're going to do my January wrap-up. We're going to do a journal check-in because, you guys, I've kept up with my reading journal for like a whole month now, and it is so cute. I'm living. And while we're doing our journal checkup, we're going to talk about what on earth I want to read in February and why it is so many. Also, before we get started, I am going to put a pinned comment down below. I'm going to do a Q&A this week. I already asked for questions on Twitter, but I'm going to ask here too, just in case some of you don't follow me on Twitter, but you have a burning question. I'm doing a Q&A this week in celebration of 500 subscribers, and also because it's my birthday in 10 days. So, drop a question on the pinned comment below, or if I forget to pin a comment, because we know how it is, just comment a question for me and I will try and answer it. Cool? Cool. So I read 10 books in the month of January, which is kind of insane considering that my last few wrap-ups of the year were really terrible. Like, not terrible. There's no such thing as a terrible wrap-up. But like, they were lower than I wanted them to be. And this month I read literally 10 books and I was like shaking. I was like, I can't believe I did it. I read 10 really good books. I really only read one that I like kind of hated, and I'm really excited to talk about why I didn't like it. Because I've been looking forward to doing this wrap up for about 3 weeks now. Oops. I like wrap ups. I'm so sorry. Oh, we should do some stats, right? We should do some stats. So hi, reading journal. Stats. I've been taking monthly stats because YOLO, you know? I read 10 books. I had an average rating of 4. I gave a lot of books 4 stars, and that's because I don't really care. I read 3,870 pages, and I read for 29 out of the 31 days this month. I only did not read 2 days because you know how it is. Cool. Let's get started with the first book I finished in January. The first book I finished in January was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And man, I started so strong this year. I said we are going to start with a literal new favorite book. I gave this book 5 stars, and like, where had I been all this time? Why did it take me so long to read this? This book blew my mind. This book was everything to me. I love this book. And we're going to touch back on it when I'm comparing it to another book in a little bit. Anyway, I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. I'm literally obsessed. I cannot stop thinking about it. For those of you that don't know, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo follows a journalist who gets hired to write an article about Evelyn Hugo, who is a huge star from the past, and she had 7 husbands. And she sits down and to write her article and gets to learn all about them and all about who she really loved. This book is incredible. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid as an author. I love that she is able to create such human characters that really are super gray. And they make terrible decisions throughout both of the books of hers I've read. But you feel for them and you understand where they're coming from. And even if you don't agree with their decisions, you see why they made them. And I think it's a really interesting and introspective look on humanity because no one is all good or all bad. And that is what I really appreciated about this book. Also, literally iconic. Evelyn Hugo, I want to be you when I grow up. I read this book and I immediately knew, like, first 50 pages, this was going to be a 5-star read. It's also queer. Also queer. The second book I read in January was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And this was so close to 5 stars. And I think the only reason I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5 stars is because, like, I didn't cry. And I was, like, bummed out that I didn't cry. Because I was, like, hyped for all this time. Like, oh, you're gonna cry. You're gonna cry at the end. You're gonna cry. And then I didn't. And I was like, aw. So then it was a 4.5-star book. But it easily could have been 5. This book is stunning. It's a Iliad retelling, but like more romantic. It's like, what if the Iliad were a romance? And that's it. That's all it's so good, you guys. Like, I read so much mythology this month, and this is probably one of my favorite ones I read. I just love Madeline Miller's writing style. There's so much beautiful prose in this book, and I was sitting there, I'm like, beautiful, beautiful, how beautiful. I love that. I think the other reason it was 4.5 is because I know absolutely nothing about the Trojan War, and so I was sitting there, I'm like, why are they fighting? Why are they fighting? And I should have Googled it, but instead I just kept reading. The third book I read in January was a reread. It was Shadow and Bone, and I'm reading that for the GRISHAVERSE read-along. I've talked a lot about this over the past couple weeks in different live shows, and look at all those tabbies. Look at them, tabby, tabby, tabby. Because I'm a host for the GRISHAVERSE read-along, I've gotten the opportunity to discuss this book in full with my beautiful friends who I am hosting this with, and I love this book. Sorry, not sorry. I don't love it more than Six of Crows, though. We'll get there in the next month. But, like, I forgot how strong this trilogy is until I'm rereading it for this read-along. I gave this first book 4 stars. I loved it upon a reread. I hate the Darkling. You can fight me. I love Mal. You can fight me. And it was just, it's such a refreshing to reread because it still holds up. And I'm 100% sure that if I had read this in 2013 when it came out, whatever year it came out, when I was in middle school, right? If I had read it when it came out and I was in middle school, I would have fully projected my personality onto this book, and it would have become a personality trait. I would have been like, yeah, I am like Katniss, but also like Alina. Like, it would have been a problem. A fully fledged problem. If you don't know what Shadow and Bone is about, let me tell you. It is about this girl named Alina, and all of a sudden, she finds out that she is so much more than she thought she was. And she gets swept off to a huge palace to train because she has magic. And it is a standard YA fantasy coming-of-age novel. If you've never read it, but you would like to, it is not too late to join us in the GRISHAVERSE read-along. You can catch up. There's still a lot of time. We actually have 3 weeks until our next live show, so you can fully catch up on the first 3 books of the trilogy and not even worry about it. All the information is in the description. Oh, the 4th book I read this month was the one I hated. Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I did not like this book, and let me tell you why. I gave it 2 stars because there was some things that I was like, fine, I like it. But at the end of the day, it is not a book I enjoyed. I think also it comes from the fact that I don't love fairy tale retellings, because I always feel like they're the same. But my main issue with this book, wait, let me give you a summary first. So essentially, Cinderella is Dead follows Sophia as she lives in this dystopian, dark fantasy world where the government has been using the Cinderella story to oppress women for literally hundreds of years, and she's sick of it. It's very standard dystopian vibes, but like fantasy, that was one of my issues. I never knew if this was dystopian or fantasy, and they're different, okay? Like, please don't confuse me like that. Second of all, this book was so preachy in a way that I don't appreciate. So I get that this is a little bit younger than I usually read, and like that's fine too. But here's the thing. This book was released in 2020. You do not need to tell your readers every single page that this is a feminist retelling of Cinderella. I felt like every single page she was shoving down my throat that these characters were strong-willed and sassy and brave and all these things. And I'm like, they should inherently already be that. It is 2020 by the time this book is released. We should already be writing women, especially if you're a female author, who are strong and like have big personalities and are fully well-rounded, complex characters without having to tell us. You should be able to show that as a writer and be able to create these strong-willed feminist role model type characters for little girls to read without telling them. And all of these characters had the same 4 personality traits. And that was also frustrating. I'm like, there is more to feminism than all being strong-willed, gutsy, brave, sassy. characters. And like the romance was also really rushed and weird. I actually am one of these people where I don't hate insta love. I don't mind. I really like, if it's well written insta love, I'm vibing with it. This was the worst case of insta love I have ever seen. Ever. It was like 1 minute she was worried about her first girlfriend, and then the next minute she meets this new girl, she's like, I'm in love with her. Like, it was so weird, and it was so predictable. The whole book I figured out. I just did not vibe with it. We were not friends. I don't know. And it mostly comes down to the fact that I don't like being preached at when a book should just show me. Do not tell me that this is a feminist book. Show me it is. And for example, I'm going to tie it back to another book I had read this month, Evelyn Hugo. And I know these are wildly different books, completely, but I feel like their themes of strong women and feminism hold true to each other, and the way that they're executed is completely differently. Evelyn Hugo as a book explores feminism in a way that they don't have to tell you. There's not one single second I am thinking, Evelyn Hugo is not a strong woman. She is shown to be a strong woman, but I'm never told she's a strong woman. I am told every single page that this girl is strong. They're like, she's so strong. I'm so strong. The parents are like, oh, you're so strong-willed. And I'm like, that is not, we are past that point. That is so 2011, and we are so past that point. Just show me. Give her actions that prove she is strong-willed. And I think that's my problem with this book, is that it told me too much when it should have been trying to show me. And that is all, because if I keep talking about this, I think I will go for another 8 minutes. And we don't have time for that. But yeah, I still would recommend this though, because like it was fine, and I think it does have its audience, but I was not the audience. The next book I read was The Red Pyramid by Riordian. I was actually trying to read all 3 of these books this month, but I didn't succeed. I only was able to finish the one, but I read it in 1 day. So who's the real winner? Check and mate, Rick. I liked this one way more than I thought. I had previously tried to read it in the past, but I always put it down, and I finally finished it, so I'm really proud of myself. This book follows Sadie and Carter Kane as they find out after a huge explosion that they are magicians descended from Egyptian magic. It is a really fun middle grade mythology story, and I know that we all know that Rick Riordan writes good books, but this is a really good one. And I never gave it the time of day, but now I did, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, I think, because, like, although it was fine, I didn't love it enough to make it a 4-star. Like, it was still not my favorite, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. It made me giggle, and it was a good lighthearted read. After I finished The Red Pyramid, I read We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This book was incredible. I gave it 4 stars. Similar to Song of Achilles, it could have been more, but I didn't cry like everyone told me I was going to, so it got docked. Because you can't tell me I'm going to cry in a book, and then when I don't cry, I'm going to dock it. Like, just don't tell me when something's going to make me cry. Let me feel that. Anyway, We Are Okay follows a girl named Rin as she goes to college with only her phone, her wallet, and a picture of her mom. This is a great exploration of grief and mental illness and friendship, but also more-ship and family and unconditional love. And it is a really beautiful book. And it made me feel something though. Like, I didn't cry, but I did feel it, you know, when you're like, I felt it. This book I felt. It's really powerful. I recommended this a couple videos ago, but I did really enjoy this book. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. Because I don't have it physically, I can't remember what order it came in. Dang it, that was like 3 books ago. Okay, well, before I read The Red Pyramid, I read Legendborn by Tracy, Deonn. I read it on ebook, so of course I forgot it. I loved Legendborn. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And the only reason I docked it a half star because it was totally shaping up to be a 5-star book. But I was so confused the whole time because I don't know anything about Arthurian legend. I was sitting there and I was like, what's going on? What is happening? I was genuinely confused for like a solid quarter of the book. I could have used an info dump somewhere really early where they were like, here's your information. But like, I get it because like we're learning with her. I get it. We're learning with Bree. I get it, but I could have used an info dump somewhere around the 150 page mark. I loved Legendborn though. I'm very excited for whenever the sequel comes out. It literally slapped so hard. I was sitting there, I was like, man, this slaps so hard. It was a really fun read. It follows a girl named Bree as she is in an early college program, and she runs into some trouble and uncovers a secret society of magicians. And, yeah, that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to go into any spoilers. I went into this book practically blind, and I'm really glad I did. The only other thing I didn't like, maybe it was the only thing I didn't like, I didn't think that Bree needed to be 16. She was written as 16 when she could have been 18. It would have worked just as well. The story would have had no issue if all of the characters were 18 plus. That's a personal thing. It just didn't add anything to the story that she was 16. In fact, I think it took a lot away that she was 16 because the whole time I was thinking, why are you here? You're so young. It just would have made more sense if she was 18, but hey, what do I know? But yeah, I love Legendborn. I can't recommend it enough. Okay, the next book I read was Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo for the GRISHAVERSE read-along. More tabbies. I like this one more than Shadow and Bone, and I really appreciate this book. I'm not going to give you any summary because it spoils the end of Shadow and Bone, and if you've never read it, I'm so sorry. Siege and Storm is so good, and I'm very excited to continue with Ruin and Rising. I love this trilogy. I just said that, but I love this trilogy. I gave this one 4 or 4.5 stars, somewhere in that range. And it's such a fun time. Okay, so the next one I'm using in a vlog that's coming out next month, but it was called Conventionally Yours. It's by Annabeth Albert, and it was super cute. I gave this book 4.5 stars. And it has the same kind of tone as Spoiler Alert. I'm not going to go way too deep into like my feelings because I have a vlog with this in it where I'm going to tell you all about all my feelings. And the 10th and final book I finished in January is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. Okay, get ready. I loved this book. It was so funny because like right when I was on my final stretch, like I don't know, maybe 40 pages left, I went on my Twitter and saw like 4 people say they hated it, and I said, oh no, it's not me. And then I was scared to read the ending because I'm like, what if it's the end that ruins the book for people? And then the ending was great. The ending was phenomenal. Anyway, this book was kind of iconic. It takes place in like a modern day New York, and essentially there are all of these these houses, these bloodlines that go all the way back to 7 or a bunch of Greek heroes. And essentially what they do is centuries ago, Zeus cursed like 9 of the gods that every 7 years for 7 days, they were fully mortal and could be killed. And their power could be inherited by who killed them. And man, that is such a cool concept. Okay, let me get this straight. It's not a perfect book. But I enjoyed it. Because you know what are 2 things? I love Percy Jackson and the Hunger Games. This was like if Percy Jackson and the Hunger Games got married. It was so solid. It was like action-packed, bloodthirsty. There were so many like gods in it. It was predictable. It was not super feminist. It was fine. Like in those terms, like let's be real, it was not great. So it's a 4.5 out of 5 stars because it could be better. But like, y'all, I enjoyed the heck out of this. The heck out of it. I was like, man, this is fun. Especially because I spent so long going, I don't really want to read it next. And then I was like, fine, I'm going to sit down and read it. I went in with like the bar on the floor. And so then I just enjoyed the heck out of it. You know, I love when I do that. When I put the bar on the floor, so that way any book I read is way above the bar. And then I just really enjoy it. But I really enjoyed this. So that's all I have to say about lore. I really enjoyed it. It will become one of my staple recommendations. Get ready. But now, let's do our journal check-in. Okay, hello. Welcome to my journal check-in. Sorry you can see the leggy of my tripod. I am not good with how to make them stand. So here we go. I got a new sticker. Look, red, white, and royal blue. Let's not talk too much about it. Okay, so first of all, I feel like we need to go over my book playlist. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but I've been making a playlist of all of the books I've been reading, and I will link it in the description below, as well as the Google Doc that I'm keeping to track why these songs are these books. I finished 10 books, so I got to color in my flower. Also, my library. I filled up a whole little shelf. I'm very proud of myself. Cool, let's jump straight to my January set. So as you can see, I did terrible on my TBR. I was planning a John Green rereading vlog. I started looking for Alaska. I hated it. I DNF'd it. And I will not be reading them. And I'm also, Cersei was on the TBR, but I didn't end up getting to it. I ended up buying a lot of books, but if you saw in that vlog that I did a couple weeks ago, most of mine came from a gift card, so I don't feel bad at all. Here's all my 10 books. Well, plus the one I finished for school that I hated, so I didn't talk about it. But yeah. And then here we go. So for each book I read this month, I did a little aesthetic, a little mood board of pictures I found on Pinterest. So here's the one for the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and honestly, probably my favorite one. And then my Song of Achilles one I also love because it's like really pretty. My Shadow and Bone one, the duckling. Do you see him? Do you see the duckling? And then this is my Cinderella is Dead one. This is my Legendborn one. I'm really proud of this one. Look, see? See? If you know, you know. My Red Pyramid one I think is really pretty. I do this because I have a separate journal where I write reviews because I can't write reviews without a template. And yeah. And then here's my We Are Okay one, my Siege and Storm one. I like my Siege and Storm one. Haha, Mal writes. There's my Conventionally Yours one and my Lore one. I'm really proud of how the Lore one turned out too. And then here's our GRISHAVERSE read-along page. We already saw that. I made an anticipated releases page, but my fat little hands messed up all the writing, but it's okay. It's fine. Cool. So here's February. February I decided to go with like a fish tank ocean theme. And let me be honest, my February TBR is a lot. And here's why. I am moving at the end of the month, and I can't bring any books with me because it's a temporary move. And what's the point of bringing all of your books with you when you just have to either get rid of them or find a way to bring them back? Anyway, so I'm trying not to bring any books with me, but I'm also trying to leave no books unread. So I'm trying to read my entire physical TBR, which is going great. With a few exceptions. There's a few that I also downloaded on my Kindle that I can read while I'm in my new place. Anyway, so essentially I'm also going to tell you what vlogs I'm planning because last month I didn't tell you what vlogs I was planning and both of them fell through. But now if I have someone to hold me accountable, then they'll be done. So I'm doing a Valentine's Vlogentine's Day vlog where I'm going to read a bunch of romances that I have. So I have Beach Read, I have Unconventionally Yours, which we already talked about, and A Complicated Love Story Set in Space, and The Falling in Love Montage by Sarah Smith. Those will be in that. I also have to read Ruin and Rising for the GRISHAVERSE read-along, and I wrote Six of Crows, but I realized that we're not doing the Six of Crows live show until midway through March, so I have a while. I might push that off. I'm also planning a pirate reading vlog with a bunch of pirate books like Fable by Adrienne Young, Seafire and Steeltide, All the Stars and Teeth, and The Daughter of the Pirate King. All of those pictures will be put in. I also would like to read The House on the Cerulean Sea and a couple others that I'll probably do in some 24-hour readathon reading vlogs. Cool, so then this is where I'll put my book spot. and what books I end up reading. And yeah, then I have all these open pages to make into pretty little mood boards. I actually want to put that there. There we go. Okay, we're gonna film this outro out here. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment. Tell me how you felt about any of these books if you've read them. Is there anything on my February TBR you're particularly looking forward to? Let's just chat in the comments. The comments are my favorite part of running this little channel because I like to talk to people because I'm lonely. Anyway, yeah, please join the GRISHAVERSE read along if you have not already. We are having a great time. We are currently working on Ruin and Rising, but you have 3 weeks to do it, so you're fine. What else would I like to say to you all? Please leave a question in the comments based on a pinned comment down below for my Q&A coming this week. And thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next chapter.